So we said, let's have the beautiful fort, a better fort, one, instead of two lesser forts that aren't as fun. So this one actually has the walkthrough. Disneyland has two forts, but nothing to do in either one of them. No attractions, no. So here it serves as the entrance. It's much bigger. You can play up in there and see Stories from the West, which was probably a good thing coming here because, it's not the neighborhood. It's far, far away. So as you start your journey into the West, it was a chance to kind of familiarize yourself with all the kind of characters that live in this land. And as I told you, what was very important, unlike any other Disney park, we were building Big Thunder on day one. So it is right there, right in the center. So, the excitement, Walt Disney called these weenies. I don't know why, but like a hot dog standing up like that. Yeah, a hot dog. And like people, they smell the hot dog and they want to go to it. And like, oh, there it is. And you'll see the train coming out, and it's very enticing. And so this whole stage about how you live in this world and what it looks like in this world is all determined just by visual. One of the most difficult challenges was the words, the Haunted Mansion. This was what would I call it, verbiage thing that I think it would be Les Maisons de Haunt. Would that be close to a French version of that? And we said, well, then an English-speaking person wouldn't understand it, So we looked for a lot of ways to call that would be readable by many different languages. And Phantom Manor is very close in both, at least in English and French, it's close. So we changed the name. And then the other thing we did, if you look at Disneyland, it's beautiful. It's all maintained. It looks like Main Street. It's gorgeous. And Walt Disney said, we'll take care of the outside and we'll let the ghosts take care of the inside. And he said, well, that's really neat if you have a plaque to read, well, I wouldn't look over there and say that Disneyland's is haunted. I have to read the sign that says, oh, this is the Haunted Mansion. But here, there's no question about it. You look over there and you go, whoa, okay, that must be where the ghosts are because it looks that way. So again, it's strengthening that visual storytelling element. We also did a major shift there that was due to the fact that we were building this park all at the same time. So directly behind that Haunted Mansion is the Grand Canyon, which is sort of like the fort. The fort is about culture that's coming into the West and starting a new world. In the Grand Canyon, it's about the nature of this area. So you're seeing the animals and the Grand Canyon itself. And then when that is over, it opens up and you're looking right out at Big Thunder for real. So I love that thought of like, oh, it's just a little diorama thing and then the wall moves by and you go, oh my God, they built this. It's really there and we're gonna get to go there later in the day. But at Disneyland, see, it came after the park was already built. So they put it in Tomorrowland.
It's here. It's so lovely. I got a lot of space in my cemetery. Waddy, 3D.
Bienvenue à Phantom Manor.
For the first time, the Phantom Manor show will be presented in French and English. with the English performed by the late great Vincent Price. It's something that the fans have been asking for years, and we're excited to finally be able to bring that performance back into Phantom Manor. We start with storytelling and Imagineering, of course, and what we wanted to do with Phantom Manor in this reimagining was to go deeper into the story of the Phantom, of the bride in waiting, and those unfortunate suitors that tried to take her hand. So you will see that we have in our portrait gallery all new portraits of 4 of the unfortunate suitors that tried to marry Melanie. And with some new illusionary magic, we're going to take her out of the picture, and we're going to reveal as the room stretches down what ending came to each of these characters. What would Henry Ravenswood have? What art would he have purchased if he was the wealthiest man in Thunder Mesa? And so of course he would have Western pictures and pictures of sailing ships, but of course he would have a portrait of himself. You'll see more of Melanie and the Phantom in the attraction as you go through. You know this as the load scene of the attraction. It's been brought to life in this beautiful color scene now, and Melanie is now standing at the top of the stairs, staring out into the storm, looking for what? To be determined. The music room that you know now features wreaths of all of the suitors who passed away. There's new animation of the Phantom playing a very minor chord version of the Wedding March.
Vous avez gagné 8 minutes sur la vie. C'est déjà fabuleux. Vous allez le découvrir vous-même, mesdames, messieurs. Je vous souhaite.
Welcome, curious friends. It is so nice to have guests.
Nous sommes ravis de vous accueillir, humbles mortels, dans ce mystérieux manoir.
You may not believe it, but beauty once lived in this house.
Phantom Manor a connu des jours heureux, et les temps ont changé.
Now, curious souls, come. I have more to show you.
Entrez, braves mortels, et visitons ensemble ce fameux manoir.
Our tour begins here, in this gallery, where you gaze upon the sweet innocence of youth.
Kindly step all the way in and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now.
Ici, vous pouvez admirer les portraits de la sublime maîtresse des lieux et de ses prétendants moins chanceux.
Perhaps you sense a disquieting metamorphosis.
Hélas, les choses ne sont pas toujours ce qu'elles paraissent. Et tous les contes n'ont pas de fin heureuse.
To lose everyone is doomed at Phantom Manor.
Even you?
Notice this. This chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out.
Par ailleurs, il n'y a ni porte, ni fenêtre. Par où sortir? Si vous ne trouvez pas le moyen de vous échapper, le fantôme des lieux se fera un plaisir de vous aider.
I didn't mean to frighten you. Premature.
Venez donc faire la connaissance de la future mariée dont la beauté vous donnera des frissons.
Queen Fiji in this house awaits us farther on, and she's dying to meet you. And beware the phantom.
Notre futur marié attend toujours l'homme de sa vie. Et volontaire.
There is much to see, so look alive and stay together.
I hate to lose you so soon. N'ayez pas peur. Allez-y, avancez.
We summon you now to dance through the night. Esprits et fantômes, sur vos fiers destriers, escortez dans la nuit la belle Beyoncé. Warlocks and witches, answer this call. Your presence is wanted at this ghostly ball. Des 12 coups de minuit aux matines sonnantes.
stand up, then step out and stand on the moving platform, please. Permettez-moi de relever la barre de sécurité. Veuillez maintenant
You're still alive?
Yes, barely.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I've seen you disturb the dead. They might disturb your return. Careful. You know you leave Phantom Manor, but you don't know what you take with you.
Well, I have to go, I guess. It was always pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
See you. We're just dying to have you. Bye-bye.
Big Thunder was one of my earliest jobs as we go to Frontierland now. And it was always an afterthought. It came at the very end. Frontierland had existed in California and Florida. They had been built, and now what land do we have where we could put Big Thunder? And whereas in Paris, we were starting from the ground, and so I said, let's put it right in the center. It's the most important attraction in that park. We'll put it right in the center. And the idea of putting it out on the island, I think, gave us the best Big Thunder there is in the world, because to get to it, the ride has to go under the water to get out to that island. And at the end, the most spectacular thrill segment we've ever done, to get you back from that island, we have to hit a speed in the darkness that's probably unmatched anywhere on a Disney coaster to get back to the land. So the other thing it did is by being in the center, everywhere you go in Frontierland is enlivened by the excitement and the noise and the sounds and the visuals of those trains running around. It's sort of like the backdrop, whether you're over at Phantom Manor or you're over to the Chaparral stage, you've got that context of the great scene of the West. When we did a lot of research here in Paris, I would go to bookstores that were not tourist bookstores, but to local people that lived here in the smaller suburbs, and I'd look at what were their impressions of America. And they loved the West. It was very popular. They loved the Native Americans and that whole, what I would call John Ford, the great director, would showcase Monument Valley. And so that we knew we were on safe ground, because just as to me, coming here to look at the beauty of the greenery and the villages and the swans on the rivers and everything is very culturally different than my dry California area, the whole idea of the Monument Valley and that deserty West with cactuses and so forth was very appealing from a European perspective, because it was so remote and distant. So we knew we were on safe ground of doing that, because to put that kind of a visual only 25, 30 minutes from the city is extraordinary. When you look at that and you say, we are about 40 minutes from the Eiffel Tower, and look at this view, it's stunning. And our landscape department goes to the trouble of every year about this time we bring out cactuses and succulents that are kept in storage all winter long, because they'd never make it through the winter, to enhance that look. So I'm very proud of the Frontierland. The layout of Big Thunder is modified to get from the station out under the water, and then it's the same. And then when it comes back, it's different. But that corrected the problem that Florida has and California has, that the last thrill segment is shortened, because when you come to the station, there still has to be enough energy to get you down to the start of the ride for the first lift. So we have to give up that amount of thrill in order to get the train out of the station. Whereas here, because you're going under the water, we get more thrill because we don't have to deal with that. So it corrected what I thought was you should have a continual, more excitement on each of those drops. So the first one is, you have, let's see, we have the Spiral Butte, I believe. No, that's in the second one. The first one has the drop through the splash, and then the second one is the spiral. And then the third one goes down under the water, so they're increasingly more exciting. So this is the only park that has that, because in California, the spiral is the most thrilling part, and then the last one is lesser. So we were really proud that we were able to come up with a way to change the layout on that and make it so not only is it continually getting more exciting, but that you can see it from everywhere in that land. So when you're riding the boats or you're walking around, the Big Thunder becomes the symbol of the whole Frontierland, whereas it was always added later to, in Florida to that Frontierland, later at Disneyland, and the park was already developed, so it's kind of pushed into a corner. So here is the dramatic centerpiece for the land, and that's the only park. Even in Tokyo, it's over in the corner. So this is the only park where you look right through the fort as you go into that land, and right there to draw you in is the excitement of Big Thunder. So the placement here is the only park where it was part of the initial opening plan to put it right in the center.
Howdy, folks. Please keep your hands and arms inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Pat Burke was one of the great assets we had in finding all this mining equipment. What you find with Imagineering is a lot of people have unique passions. And Pat's passion was to go throughout the American West and find these amazing artifacts from 150 years ago. Now, he couldn't afford to buy them. He just loved finding them and taking pictures. So you take someone like that whose passion would be to do that for free, just because he loves it, and you say, we're going to give you the greatest opportunity you've ever had. We're going to let you not only find all these things, but we're going to give you a budget to buy them. And because he was so, I think when you find someone who owns some of these things and you see someone who has real passion for your old antiques and things, you're willing to sell it for less money because you realize this person is going to take care of it. And Pat was really good at giving that impression, you know, so he would go out there and say, I really love that. And he could talk about it. He could say, this is the finest stamp mill that I've ever seen, or the finest, you know, steam tractor, and boy, I'd sure love to have this. And he goes, oh, really? Okay. And then you buy it. And then he writes Walt Disney Imagineering. And they go, what? You know, but we got, again, there's an example of spending better. This Big Thunder is not only the most thrilling, but while you're walking by here, all these artifacts are absolutely real. They came from the American West. They are hundreds of years old. And they're the finest ones we have.
Howdy, folks. Please remain seated until the train comes to a complete stop, and wait until you're asked to disembark. Much obliged.
Les amis, c'est bien les mains et les bras à l'intérieur du wagonnet et restez toujours. Et accrochez-vous à votre chameau. Car cette randonnée promet d'être agréable.
Howdy, folks. Please keep your hands and arms inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
रुक।
Best for moving! Ja, hè?
Weer achter mij.
Wordt lekker een beetje benut.
Vous restez assis jusqu'à la récupérer.
A major change here that everyone thought we were crazy and suggesting it was to put the loading over on this side of the river and the ride out there. And at first we thought, well, how you couldn't get the train up higher than that steam. And I said, no, we're not going to get it higher than that steam smokestack. It's going to go under the water, and then it only has to go down about 10 feet, you know. And so what that allows it to do, it gives an incredible boost to the very beginning of the ride. So you, whoa, you know, like right away you're going fast. So by putting it over there, we have to get all the way down there and then go back up very fast to get back in the station, which makes the ending a spectacular ending on this ride. And I think that alone is what pushed it over the top and made it. They all thought Space Mountain would be the, you know, the big one, but I think here, that combination that, you know, our landscape people here work very hard. You know, they've taken down a lot of the foliage to make it visible again, because the climate here is so comfortable for plants to grow, unlike California where nothing grows unless you water it. Here, if you just look away from it, it's green, and you've got, you know, swans swimming out here and everything, and big beautiful trees. So keeping this land dry is really hard, but it gives you a look that you're not used to. Just like when we go into Adventureland and Frontierland at Disneyland, and they're all forested. We're used to living in a desert, so seeing those forests, people in California go, oh my gosh, it's just like we're in the country. This is amazing. We're in Anaheim in the middle of an industrial area in Los Angeles, and it's all a desert, and we have this beautiful forest. So I think the other thing that is really stunning here is in the summer, I don't think they brought them all out yet, but they bring out cactuses and succulents that are stored in greenhouses in the winter because they would die if they were left out here. And so having that look is so unique that you can board a train from Paris and be here in 40 minutes and you're somewhere else in the world, you know, and it looks real. But it's the great thing about Big Thunder, it is a roller coaster. We all know it's a roller coaster, but it doesn't look like a roller coaster. Every move that train makes it looks like, well, that's what they had to do. They couldn't let people go in the water, so they had to turn really sharp to get back. They're not going to come off the end of the cliff, so they had to turn the track to go that way. So we never let you see enough of it that you start to see that it's just like, I guess, spaghetti that looks like a pile of spaghetti with track going every which way. Then you'd know this is just a carnival ride. Instead, it looks like the mining people actually built these things to get their trains full of ore to where they need to go. And I think that's one of our biggest triumphs at Disney, is that we understand how much to show. Because you might say, well, why don't you show all the ride? Because that would be more exciting for us over here. But then it wouldn't look real. The teasing, we tease you. You see this come out, it goes around there, it goes over here. And you go, that must be amazing over there. I want to go and find out what that is. It's better than standing there and seeing it go up the hill and go down. And rock work was there. You have to believe that rock was there before we built any human things here. So everything that is human-made, like the bridges and the buildings, has to look like it was cut out of the rock that was already there. When you go to a lot of other parts, look at it, and you'll see that it looks like the rock grew like a living thing growing around the building. And that is something that always really tells you right away this is not real, and it takes you out of the moment. We have a theory we call eliminating contradictions. Now what that means is when there's something that sticks out that doesn't belong in that area, then you lose the story and it goes away. And so like that's why when you look at that, everything looks right, even though in the back of your mind you know that there'd never be a train built like that. Nobody would build a train like that, but it's there and it looks real, so it works, you know.
And I must say, it was mighty nice of them to name this here riverboat after me. Oh, I never dreamed when we discovered gold that it would lead me to being such a celebrity. I always say to my Johnny, I always say, if the folks back in Hannibal, Missouri could see us now.
Oui, oui, Molly, merci. Et si nous indiquions aux passagers certains des points d'intérêt que nous allons voir depuis le bateau?
Sure thing, Captain. Let's show these folks the sights. Remember when they hit the mother lode down, but it seems the mine was built on the side of Indian holy ground, and the police kept after me. Folks got spooked off.
What are we in? Then? Misschien had het er geholpen, hè? Maar ja, wat hij aan die motor aan het werken is.
Donc actuellement on est sur le Molybron, which is for the moment it's on the board of the Molybron. This boat is the Stanley. So for the motor to the right and the left, and very different on the Mark Twain. Alors donc là actuellement on est dans la cabine de Molybron, qui est donc connue surtout pour avoir été une des survivantes du Titanic en 1912, donc le 14 avril 1912. Donc dans cette cabine, on a plusieurs objets d'origine, notamment donc, le point d'eau qui est juste là, qui est un point d'eau. Le Molibron est à 100 000 heures, et celui-là c'est un 5 000 heures, donc c'est un bateau, donc pareil, un coque à fond plat, avec le moteur à l'arrière. Et les portes échoppes et chapeaux sont d'origine. Tout ça c'est d'origine. On a également donc, à la capitainerie ce qu'on appelle le cabestan, c'est ce qui est en fait la boussole de navigation qui date de 1880-1890. Donc pareil, ce sont des objets qui sont d'origine. Là on est au niveau du moteur principal du Molibron. Donc c'est un balancier d'origine d'époque, donc qui servait uniquement tout simplement à faire mouliner les roues bâbord et tribord. Ce que pensent beaucoup de personnes, c'est qu'on peut faire tourner une roue seule pour pouvoir faire tourner et une autre roue pour pouvoir faire tourner le bateau, ce qui n'est pas le cas. Puisque comme sur tout bateau d'époque, à cette époque-là, il n'y avait pas encore la technologie comme ça avait été fait par exemple sur Titanic. On n'utilisait qu'un seul moteur et du coup on réduisait la puissance de navigation. Donc là on se trouve dans les fourneaux du Molibron, enfin ce qui étaient les fourneaux d'époque. Donc avec tout le matériel nécessaire pour faire la nourriture. Là on n'a pas tout récupéré, mais du moins on a tout ce qui servait à faire la nourriture de base. Donc, pareil, tout ça c'est des objets d'époque qui ont été récupérés soit sur des brocantes ou sur des ventes aux enchères d'objets d'époque. Donc on a un service à Disney qui en fait gère uniquement que ça, c'est-à-dire essayer de se rapprocher du plus près possible de l'authenticité de l'époque. Là on est dans la cabine de l'équipage et du capitaine. Donc là actuellement vous avez vos carburants pareil comme dans notre cabine. On a également les sacs qui servaient à l'équipage pour transporter leurs affaires à bord de bateaux qui sont juste là, les gros sacs blancs, qui sont quasiment encore utilisés à notre époque, parce que c'est quasiment toujours le même modèle, que ce soit dans la marine ou même les métiers de pêcheurs au niveau des bords de côte. À côté, vous avez donc les lanternes, pareil, qui sont des lanternes qui, à l'époque, étaient fonctionnées à l'huile. Là, un petit peu au fond, on ne le voit pas, mais on a un échiquier pour occuper l'équipage à l'époque.
En dépassant Wilderness Island à bâbord, nous entrons dans des eaux plus calmes. Molly, c'est le moment idéal pour parler
de transporter passagers et cargaisons, même dans les eaux les moins profondes.
Un bateau à fond plat puisse circuler. L'écrivain Samuel Clemens, qui a été pilote de bateau, s'est inspiré de ce conte pour prendre Mark Twain comme modèle.
Une squelette! Une squelette!
Moi, ça me surprend pas.
Дома проведи. Оля, встань. Сюда встань. Вот сюда, Оля, быстрее, пока не проходит.
Mon collègue à l'arrivée. Vous voulez regarder?
Tu veux faire le train de la mine? Ça va vite, hein?
This area has changed a lot, as you know. We thought this would really be fun for the guests to do a real hoop and holler cookout with, bluegrass music and everything. And I think that's pretty much as it was designed originally. What Walt was so concerned about in Tomorrowland and everywhere was having movement. So the Dumbo rides and people climbing tree houses and Big Thunder Mountain and all that, that makes the area exciting. When the Molly Brown comes in and the whistle is blowing, the area becomes more exciting. Even if you don't ride it, just seeing it come in, it's exciting to the guests to see that. And so that's kind of the importance for that. I know now it's become a children's area, so it's sort of, remember I told you we took out Tom Sawyer Island, so now you have kind of a smaller version of that with Pocahontas over here. We had a challenge the very first year the park opened. It was so crowded that we were given money right away to build more attractions. And they said, don't build big attractions, just build a lot of smaller attractions that can entertain the guests. So, for instance, in Discoveryland, we did the Nautilus, we did Storybook Land and Casey Jr., we did the train station in Discoveryland, we did the Passage of Aladdin, we did the Chaparral stage, and so and of course the Temple of Peril, yes, which Temple of Peril and I think Storybook Land and Casey all became major attractions, even though they were small, but they have been regarded by the guests as very important attractions. So even though our challenge was to make smaller things, I think, and the castle walkthrough, I was trying to remind myself. But all of those were done very quickly, and they gave a lot of other places for people to walk through and see and spread the crowd around. And so they weren't all waiting on 5 major attractions.
Hey jongen, ik ga naar beneden komen, hè? Wacht, hè? Geen probleem.
Zeg, de slierboom is de andere kant.
Maar graag in die boom. En nu?
Nee, dat lukt niet goed, hè, precies.
Nee. Dat is niet voor mij gemaakt.
Nee.
Even het een beetje verwarmen. Hier niemand zit er te gooien.
Ja, hè. En een prachtig zicht. De zijkant van Big Thunder Mountain, Jordi.
Dan is je kan proberen.
Ja, hè?
Ja, maar zo gaan we wel misschien gooien.
Wat de werklichten liggen nog aan, hè?
Señoras y señores.